We're jumping straight into Oklo today. Everyone is watching the price action, but the real story is the race to power AI with nuclear waste.
Exactly. You're tuned into the Easy Money Show where we make sense of the market's biggest moves. I'm glad you're with us.
And if you want to simplify these kinds of complex moves that, without all the jargon, just do yourself a favor and hit subscribe and the like button.
Yeah, with this one, there is definitely a lot to simplify. If you've been watching the charts, especially this month, you know it's been a bit of a roller coaster.
A roller coaster is putting it mildly. I mean, we're sitting here February 10th, 2026, and the volatility has been just nauseating for anyone holding it. You look at the last week alone on the 2nd, the stock completely tanks on uranium sell-offs from those Iran talks.
Right.
Then on the 4th, the NASDAQ gets a little shaky, and Oklo just falls right off a cliff with it.
It's trading with really high sensitivity, that's for sure.
But then you have the other side of the coin. Texas Capital Securities comes out late January with a 130-a-day price target?
$138. It's a huge number.
It's a massive premium, so the market is completely split. One half thinks it's a meme stock that just follows uranium prices, and the other half sees the next big thing in energy. We need to figure out who's right.
And that's the core tension. To do that, we kind of have to ignore the ticker for a minute and actually look at the technology itself, the Aurora reactor, because the bull case, it isn't really about the stock. It's about the physics.
And this is so important. When people hear nuclear, they picture like the big cooling towers from cartoons, these massive billion-dollar light water reactors. That is not what Oklo is building.
Not at all. Those traditional plants are light water reactors. They're safe, but they're, let's say, inefficient. They only use about 5% of the potential energy in the uranium fuel.
And the rest is just waste.
The rest is considered waste. I've heard it compared to taking a few sips of a soda and then throwing out the whole can.
That's a great way to put it.
And that can still 95% full. This is where Oklo's fast reactor tech just completely changes the game. They're not making a new kind of soda. They're building a machine that can drink what everyone else threw away.
The fast neutron idea? So instead of using water to slow things down, they just let it run hot.
Basically, yeah. Without getting too deep in the weeds, traditional reactors use water to slow down neutrons. Oklo uses a liquid metal. These faster neutrons can split atoms that the old reactors just can't touch.
Which lets them use old nuclear fuel.
That's the moat. It's the recycling. If you can run on waste, your fuel costs they basically disappear. You're not competing for crushed uranium on the open market.
And it creates, what, a 10-year fuel cycle?
A 10-year fuel cycle. Imagine buying a car and not having to go to the gas station for a decade.
Yeah.
They're taking a liability waste that the government pays billions to guard and turning it into a massive asset.
That solves a huge political problem, too. Not in my backyard suddenly becomes, please take this stuff out of my backyard and make power with it.
Exactly. But there's a second piece to the tech that's just as important, and that's safety.
Yeah.
Everyone's biggest fear is a meltdown, right? Chernobyl, Fukushima.
Of course.
The Aurora is designed with something called negative reactivity feedback.
Okay, so a fancy way of saying it shuts itself off. But how? Because I hear auto shutdown, and I think of software. And, software can fail.
It's not software. It's just physics. As the reactor gets hotter, the fuel itself physically expands.
Okay.
And as it expands, the atoms move farther apart. When they're farther apart, the chain reaction it naturally slows down.
So if it starts to overheat, the laws of nature just put the brakes on?
Precisely. It doesn't need a person to push a red button or a computer to run a code. It just relies on heat making things bigger. It's brilliant.
And we know this works. This isn't some drawing on a whiteboard.
Not at all. The Department of Energy proved this decades ago with the experimental breeder reactor 2, the EBR-2. They ran a test where they turned off all the cooling pumps at full power.
Which would be a total catastrophe in a normal reactor.
A meltdown, yeah. In the EBR-2, it settled down, the temperature rose a bit, the reaction slowed, and it stabilized all by itself. There are over 400 reactor years of data on this tech. Oklo is commercializing something that's already been proven.
So the physics works. The fuel is essentially recycled garbage. So why now? Why is this blowing up in 2026?
It's about who's asking for the power.
Sam Altman?
Sam Altman and the entire AI industry. You have to look at Oklo through the lens of AI. Altman isn't just some passive investor. He's the chairman. He's the one who took it public with his SPAC.
And we all know data center energy demand is it's exploding. It's set to triple by 2030 or something crazy like that.
The grid can't handle it.
Hmm.
The U.S. grid is old, it's congested. And look, solar and wind are great, but data centers run 24/7. AI needs constant, reliable baseload power.
And it needs to be clean. All the big tech companies have these huge ESG goals.
They're stuck. They need more power, but they can't build more fossil fuel plants.
Yeah.
This is why the Aurora's size, that 15 to 75 megawatts, is kind of the Goldilocks zone.
Small enough to put right next to a data center.
Exactly. No need for hundreds of miles of new transmission lines.
And the rumors are that Oklo and OpenAI are already in talks for a power deal.
They're just rumors, but it makes perfect sense. If you're Sam Altman and you know the biggest bottleneck for AGI is literally electricity, you're going to back the company that makes the batteries.
So that's the bull case. That's the logic behind the $138 target. You have this infinite demand from AI meeting a potentially infinite supply from recycled nuclear fuel.
It's a perfect storm. The target deployment is 2027 in Idaho. The DOE is already helping with permits and fuel. Wall Street is starting to price in that revolution.
Okay, that's the dream. But let's be real here. If it's such a sure thing, why isn't this a trillion-dollar company right now? Let's talk about the bear case.
Because today, right now, Oklo is a company that burns cash, not nuclear fuel.
Zero revenue.
Not a dime. They're purely developmental stage. They have about $300 million in cash from the SPAC merger, no debt, which is good, but that's a ticking clock.
And the biggest obstacle, the thing holding them back, is the NRC.
The Nuclear Regulatory Commission. This is the #1 risk. We cannot overstate this. The NRC is designed to be slow. It's designed to say no. Their job is safety, not speed.
And they've already said no to Oklo once before, which that's a big red flag for me.
They did. Back in 2022, the NRC denied their first application.
Why? Was the tech unsafe?
No, and this is a really important detail. The NRC didn't say the reactor was unsafe. They said there was insufficient information.
So, a paperwork problem.
It was basically a culture clash. You had Silicon Valley's move-fast mentality crashing into a government agency that wants everything documented in triplicate. Oklo tried to streamline the application, and the NRC just said, nope, do it our way.
So the risk is that the 2027 timeline is it's a pipe dream. If the NRC drags their feet for another few years, that cash pile is gone.
That's the bear case in a nutshell. We've seen it happen with other small reactor companies. Timelines slip, and when they do, stocks get crushed. It's a binary outcome.
And then there's the macro stuff. Like we said, the stock drops because of Iran talks. That has nothing to do with Oklo's actual business.
It's irrational, but that's the market for you. Oklo gets tossed in the same bucket as uranium miners. An algorithm sees nuclear, sees the uranium spot price dip, and it just sells everything.
Even though their entire model is designed to be less dependent on uranium prices.
The market hasn't priced that in yet. So you're exposed to all this geopolitical noise that you have absolutely no control over.
Okay, so let's put it all together. For anyone listening, what should we be watching for? What are the catalysts over the next, say, 30 days and into the rest of this year?
The first thing is the Q1 earnings call.
But they don't have earnings. Why would we listen to that?
You're not listening for the numbers. You're listening for the language. Specifically, any update on the NRC. You need to hear the CEO give concrete details on their progress.
So if they're vague about the regulatory stuff, that's a bad sign.
A very bad sign. If they start talking about timeline flexibility, that means delays. Any slip from that 2027 date, and the whole thesis starts to wobble.
What else? What about government support?
Keep an eye on any news about critical minerals funding. The administration has this $12 billion plan. We need to see if HLEU fuel is specifically included in that.
And HLEU is the special kind of fuel that Oklo needs, right?
Correct. High-assay, low-enriched uranium. The supply chain for it in the U.S. barely exists. If the government starts funding that supply chain, it massively de-risks the whole project for Oklo.
It's a signal that the government wants this to succeed.
Right. It puts the political will behind them. And the third thing is boots on the ground.
We need to see some dirt moving in Idaho.
Exactly. Any news about site prep, breaking ground, anything that moves this from a PowerPoint presentation into a real construction project, that's a huge validation.
And finally, the analysts. Is anyone else going to join Texas Capital with a big price target?
That's what you watch for. If another big bank initiates coverage, it shows the institutional money is starting to believe. If not, the stock will probably stay volatile.
So the regulator, the government, the construction site, and the banks, that's the checklist.
That's the checklist. It really is at an inflection point. The demand from AI is a certainty. The question is whether Oklo can get through all the red tape in time to meet it.
Let's wrap it up. What's the final synthesis here?
I think you're playing a call option on a new energy paradigm. If you believe the AI power crunch is real and unavoidable, then you have to believe that something will force the regulatory system to adapt. The country can't afford to lose the AI race over paperwork.
The need for AI will force the bureaucracy's hand.
That's the bet. You have to have the stomach for it. You have to be okay with watching your position drop 10% on a Tuesday for no good reason. If you can't handle that, stay away.
Here's the lowdown exit for me. The thing that really sticks with me isn't even the reactor or the AI angle, it's the recycling. For 60 years, nuclear waste has been this terrifying thing. We bury it, we guard it, it's a multi-generational liability. Oklo's entire premise is that we've been looking at it all wrong. That it's not poison, it's a gold mine.
It completely redefines the material.
It flips the entire economic model of nuclear power on its head. If waste becomes fuel, then we stop spending money to bury a problem and we start using that problem to power the future. That's bigger than just one company's stock price.
Closing the loop. In a world with finite resources, the ones who figure out how to close the loop are the ones who win.
Thanks for trusting us with your time today. Keep watching the moves, and we'll keep making them easy. See you in the next one.